and do hash marks like tic-tac-toe. And see if you can get the primer to come off. Where you deliberately scored into the paint to weaken the edge of the paint. I've also read where you take a piece of cotton that's wet and hold it up there for 10 minutes and then do the same test. But I heard somebody say duct tape, so let's try duct tape.
Question for Charles.
What did you get off? What was it? Did you get anything off?
I didn't see anything come off.
Okay, the question was, what was the result on the regular brown tape there? And the answer was, there was zero, repeat, zero product came off. It was totally clean. Okay, now we're going to do a duct tape. And personally, I think it's a little beyond normal, so we'll see what happens.
It's way beyond.
Way beyond normal. Okay, what do we got, Mike?
We just have a little bit of residual right off the edges.
Where you scored?
But right where the score is, and what I'm talking about is a 1/16 of an inch.
Not that much. I don't think it's 16th, less than that, really. By the way, we're here to do an honest test. We're not going to sugarcoat it at all.
That's absolutely clean.
Well, let's say it again.
That's absolutely clean.
Charles, quit smiling so much. Our meetings are kind of fun, aren't they?
Okay, you can see just a little white line right where the cuts were. Boy, oh boy, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Okay, let's try it on the pigmented and see what it does.
That was on the clear, Mike?
That's right.
That was just a clear overdrop of the mud with no pigment at all. Okay, so now we're going to do it on the pigmented primer. Same test. Score it with a razor blade. And I think we're going to start off with the brown tape, and then we'll try the duct tape. Here we go. Oh, almost here we go. While you're doing this, you guys are all paper hangers. Do y'all feel this is a pretty fair test on the product? Yeah. I can't think of anything much worse we could do to it.
The thing to remember is this is a water-based primer. This is not oil-based like 12 years ago.
Morning or noon. So we'll get a little more details on that.
Well, I know we all like to
good
push
question.
things to the exact time.
Okay, what the statement was made that we like to push it right to the limits that they put on the can.
Okay, on a regular masking tape, this is not an inexpensive masking tape. This is one of the upper of the line of 3M. There's just a little white discoloration just where the paint fractures right at the razor blade cut on a standard masking tape.
Okay,
Same thing.
Okay, we have just about the same thing.
Just about the same thing.
Examining the board over here, it's pure. I mean, there's no problem.
I want to say that Charles is right. There is a little more pigment that comes off in the middle of this tape that indicates that the pigmented primer, it does not have as much penetration as the clear. You're not supposed to use duct tape on any painted surface. You're not supposed to use masking tape with a white masking tape, this type of masking tape, for more than about 12 hours anyway. If you're going to, they have 7-day masking tape, and that's the blue stuff, and I didn't think that was a fair test. I wanted to go beyond what we would normally do. That's why I'm using this. If you want to come up and try it with the blue tape, be my guest.
I believe you.
Okay. That brings up another thing. I'm not selling this product. I'm trying to unsell it. Okay? And that's because the product I have found is so effective. It dries so permanent. You would have to treat it as any other overspray potential problem painting project. And if you're in early on a job, I could see where you might have a chance to do that. But many times I request to be the absolute last tradesman there after the carpet, after everything except the window treatments. So I'm concerned about overspray. I have found that I use another pair of work glasses because the clear dries so hard I scratch my plastic lens to get it off. Charles apparently has had phone calls asking how to get it off of other people's glasses. So just a word to the wise, the overspray dries fast because it goes on so thin, and when it's dry it's pretty darn permanent. Okay. This was applied, the final coat is clear and it was applied with a roller, and I find that to be much better than spraying for my personal application. And I made a point of side lighting and making sure there were no holidays, no shallow spots in here, because I don't want a failure because of misapplication of the product. But certainly this is a highly absorbent drywall skim coat. Is miserable stuff to work over. And I just think that the roller is an easier application. Let's not spend too much time on that particular topic. Board number 7 is, has been destroyed and cleaned up, sanded, primed with clear, patched or skim coated, and top primed with clear. And at this time I'm going to ask for audience participation. What I would like to do is to ask them to select a sample of paper from under the table, select a sample of adhesive that they would feel comfortable with trying a double cut on this surface. I'm going to pull out another one that's identical to this, only it has clear, has pigmented primer for the top coat. And I'm going to ask that when those samples are put on the wall that they put their name up, and that they overlap the samples and leave them overlapped and write the time of application so that they can come back 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later or 15 minutes later and do a double cut and see if they can detect any re-immersion or re-wetting of the primer. The point is I'm overlapping this material about 3/4 or about 1 inch. I'm ignoring the pattern match. I'm just setting it up so that in a few minutes we'll do a double cut on it. And again, this is over the clear primer as the top coat.
How's everybody doing? We having a good time? It's fun? Yeah? Okay. Should we thank Charles for all the food over here and everything while we're doing this? Yeah? Cool, huh? Thank you, Charles.
I would say that it's at least 600 square feet, but it depends per gallon. But again, it depends on how much of the surface is a blotter. It depends if I'm going over chalky paint, if I'm going over enamel. If I'm going over enamel, I'm going to get an excess of 600 feet. If I'm going over destroyed absorbent drywall, I'm probably going to get 300 feet. Okay, we talked about coverage. I want to talk about dry time. The can for the clear says 1 to 2 hours, and that'll work anywhere in the country, I'm sure, because 1 hour for the clear has been really adequate for me. I've been even shorter than that, maybe 45 minutes. But it depends on the atmospheric conditions, but I'm sure that if you use this product in Georgia, 2 hours is still way long enough. It's really not a paint. It's really not, it doesn't have the flow characteristics of a paint or a painter's primer. It's a wall covering primer. It does the penetrating job, and really I found better success with the clear just because of the tape test. We have better penetration and it goes further. And I guess I'm brushing over this, but if I had something negative to say, I would have said it, because it was successful for both of those configurations of grass cloth on cork and on chalky paint. And And the reason I did the job telling the customer that if the existing primer is in good shape, we won't need to prime it because the paper that was up there, which was string cloth, was sound. When I got to removing the paper and the paint, the existing avocado paint, which must have been 25 years old at least, was shredding, flaking, and chalking off as I removed the string cloth. So I used a pigmented draw-tite for the primer on that particular job. And again, no complaints. David Groff in his Encyclopedia of Wall Covering says never hang commercial vinyl on top of blank stock that was on top of draw-tite. Still no bubbling. She wants me to come back and hang more commercial vinyl to cover this up. My question to Charles is, can you use draw-tite clear like R35 to prep a vinyl to hang another vinyl? Do you really want to stick yourself out that far on the limb?
Barbara Nicholson has posed that question, and we're looking into that answer, and Bob has been doing some testing in that area.
Okay. Question is?
The question is, can you use draw-tite over an oil, like you have a real shiny, slick bathroom, and they have a real shiny, slick paint on there already. Can you use draw-tite on that shiny, slick paint?
You come up here, please.
Yes.
And what we have here is 3-day-old oil-based enamel. All right?
Right.
This primer was just applied.
And just now.
Just now. On the back side is the same kind of paint with paperback vinyl that I just discussed, a hand-printed paperback vinyl.
So that's just what you just did. Then you guys just did draw-tite on top of oil-based enamel.
That's what this sample is.
Cool.
All right. Now, you see some white lines on these seams.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with it, but then this is no different than any other primer I've ever hung these dark papers on.
It's the paper.
And I explained that this center cut right here is a double cut. This seam over here and this seam over here are factory edges. And I still got some unacceptable white lining on the edges.
Pardon?
And this was applied as a primer. There is no skim coat underneath this. This was raw drywall with oil-based enamel paint.
Well, that's the answer right there. Hold on. So, yeah. Hold on. So then, well, I was just wondering if this could be used in the place of R35.
He wants his chemist to answer this. Bob?
Oh yeah, I see no reason for recoating this product with another product. In fact, you could degrade it. This is very tightly adhering product. This product sticks like glue, and it will not re-wet, so there's really no reason to coat something over it. You might actually get a weaker bond.
I think the question was, can you use draw-tite instead of R35?
I believe you can. I was
over a shiny surface. Okay.
very, very good adhesion out of this product.
Okay, I just did a double cut on a skim-coated surface with a clear finish with straight 111, and Frank Nicholson is the only person I know that sells something that's stickier. And I did the double cut, and the paste was to the surface for 25 minutes. It pulled off absolutely cleanly. No indication of any primer failure whatsoever. I'm going to do one more.
Where did you do this?
Right there.
Can we take that sheet off and look at the wall underneath? We've double cut this. Now we're going to pull the sheet off, and there's a lot of yucky paste under there.
I deliberately put too much paste.
Mike just indicated he put too much paste on it so they could make the test a little more unfair by putting extra moisture on it. The back of the paper is just clear. I mean, there is no product on it except the paste. Okay, Mike, you now are doing the same procedure again?
That's right.
Answer the phone, Mike. You're doing everything else. Okay, here we go. Top piece is off. Bottom piece is off.
Now let's take it all the way off and see if we can see
Now we're
any.
going to take all the pieces off. Throw them under the table. Okay, now we're going to take obviously a sponge. We're going to wash the paste off. And Mike, do you want to tell them what you see, or you want me to?
That's what I used to see with oil-based primer.
Okay, what we're looking at here on this board where he double cut is that I can see in the surface where the slice of the blade was. So he actually cut hard enough where it went into the product. There is no release of any of the draw-tite. Okay, now he's scraping it. Scraping with his finger, he can't break loose any of the product. And like he indicated, this is what we used to see.
All I'm pushing around is the paste. I'm scratching the surface because the skim coat's always soft. You know that. You can dent it. But I've deliberately cut through the primer. It seems to work to me. I want to explain that on the very first job that I used, I have some pictures, just a few pictures that I can pass around. This was last year, just probably a week or 2 weeks after Charles came to our meeting the first time. And I had a situation with a customer that I've worked for about 25 years, and I've worked for her neighbor on one side and worked for her neighbor on the other side. She had an entryway with a stairwell with Van Leeuwen paper that was installed 20 years ago on unprimed drywall, and the pictures will indicate that. And in that case, I used the draw-tite, and I have some notes to explain. It had one layer of Van Leeuwen on raw drywall. I soaked it and soaked it and soaked it and soaked it. I was hoping that it might get loose enough that you can peel it off with a dull putty knife, because sometimes you can pull it off and